Plenty of stuff is in the pipeline, especially by 2028 for the lovely Olympics, and a lot of people will for sure be filling up those hotels.
That's what I was going to say. The 2028 Olympics is very crucial here. They're going to want somewhere to stay. Well, why not stay at Universal? I mean, that's going to be a big time thing there. Also, the World Cup. Go ahead, OG.
Yeah, no, 100%. And it's the Olympics is based out of LA. Like we talk a lot about Disneyland, but we also have to remember, yes, Disneyland will receive spillover from the Olympics, but the Olympics are going to be in LA though, and that's like in Universal's backyard essentially. So this is even more vital
for
Universal.
NBC, the host of the Olympics, or the network choice of the Olympics, right? And they're gonna outfit the whole park and the studio with Olympic coverage. There'll be massive Olympic stages, right? All those broadcasters on those big tables, they'll be like throughout the park broadcasting Olympics live, right, from Universal. That's at least the plan anyway.
Well, that is something, that's an element I totally forgot about, is that NBC has the Olympics rights, the broadcast rights. So yeah, there's that synergy. They're doing it like full-blown Disney style with that synergy, right? So you have people staying at your hotel. You got you're broadcasting live from the studio, from the parks. It's actually pretty brilliant. I think this is a big opportunity for Universal. It's smart of them to grab it when they can.
And Universal will be obviously on TV a lot, so want to make sure the park looks amazing. So all those viewers can wait, wow, that's what Universal looks like. It didn't look like last time that when I went to LA. Maybe we should book a trip.
It's probably why they want to be so aggressive on updating their park infrastructure, right? Making sure that entrance is perfect, or various areas that have been problem areas maybe in the past get addressed. It's probably why we're seeing so much aggressivity in this space from Universal at Hollywood specifically. Also, too, I want to bring up, perception is reality. If you have a hotel on site, then people perceive, it's worth. There's enough there that's worth staying for. So I think that also plays into it as well for the long term.
Yeah, it screams like grand, the scope is enlarged. Like, whoa, there's a hotel here. This is like a resort now. Even if there's the same amount of stuff to do, it's like, whoa, now it's a resort because there's a hotel here now instead of before there wasn't. So I can just go home, but now there's a hotel. This is like a big thing.
Yes, no, it's perception is everything. A lot of people, I remember back in the day, with when they were talking about adding a second theme park to Disneyland Resort, a lot of people were like, why didn't they just expand Disneyland out into the parking lot? Why did they have to build a second gate? The problem with making one mega Disneyland is that when you market that, it's still one park. But see, if you have two theme parks, like your psychology of it is like, well, there's two parks. Can I get through all that in one day? It's even though be the same amount of rides and the same amount of space being taken, two parks seems undoable compared to one park, even if the one park is huge, right?
It just seems bigger, seems massive, like, whoa, this is a big resort,
Right. Two parks is your mindset's different. We better stay at a hotel to get both done. Same thing goes here though with Universal. Like once you add that hotel, it's that perception. Like Dre was saying, that the perception is the reality. So you're going in there now. Oh wow, they have a hotel. So they must have a lot to do there. We should probably book a hotel just to make sure we get everything done. It's a really, really smart idea. It goes to show you too, because for the longest time, Universal was very, very serious and they're very competitive in Florida. We've seen it. They've been competitive in Florida for a real long time, since like late 90s. But now it seems like they're turning their eye to California and they're starting to get a lot more aggressive here in Hollywood, because we didn't really get the love that Orlando got for the longest time. It seems like
stepchild.
Yes, exactly. We were the ugly stepchild. And now they're starting to focus on California, which is interesting too, because Disney's also focusing on California. Even Bob Iger at the shareholder meeting said that there's a lot more opportunity in California than people realize. So it seems like we're kind of getting a little bit of a boost here in California, right? With Disneyland and Universal, it seems like we're kind of like we're sitting pretty out here in California compared to Florida right now.
There's a little time to do that West Coast drop.
Oh yeah, we got to do. Let's do the West Coast. Here we go.
Now let me welcome everybody to the Wild Wild West.
One more time.
Now let me welcome everybody to the Wild Wild West.
There we go. But you know what I'm saying? It seems like a little bit of a gold rush out here in California. You know what I'm saying? To keep it on theme. But what do you think, Dre? I think are we going to go through kind of a golden age here in California theme parks? You know, like where these companies sort of focus on what we have for the time being.
Yeah, I think we might. I mean, we know Bob Iger has a California bias.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that was definitely representative of his era. Not to say that Florida didn't get anything, but comparing the two, proportionate to how many parks each respective resort has, it's not even close. But so it's that dynamic playing out. Also, too, I think as Universal ramps up its game, so must Disney respond. Not to say that they must or have to, but it's a competitive environment out there in California. So, there's some impetus to respond in some way. I know we've debated about how much they respond or think differently when it comes to Florida, but for California, it's a battle for the locals. So that's always a dynamic playing out there. And then two, you have the Olympics there. That's going to be a big draw, especially for international visitation there. You have the World Cup. And I do believe Iger wants to get involved in those kind of things and kind of showcase the resort as a stop for international visitation, as this kind of world-class destination. And so we are seeing investment already. Avatar was announced by Iger on his first earnings call back. So there's already some momentum being driven towards California in a way that it maybe necessarily hasn't, especially with their flagship property being out there in Florida. And two, speaking of Disneyland Forward, they just announced more dates, more of these kind of coffee speaking engagements here.
Yeah.
I believe they announced like 6 of them, right, all the way in through September. So obviously there's momentum going for that. I believe our buddy Casual and his friend there, what is it, Berry Farm? Is it 28?
Berry, I think it's Berry Place 28.
Berry Place 28. I do apologize. They will be at an event, I believe, on May 20th, going over Disneyland Forward there. So there is obviously momentum in that direction. I think you're right, OG. It's another gold rush, and it's happening in Southern California.
Yeah, it is. I mean, and we have a big situation going on in Florida right now with like Ron DeSantis and Disney, and this is going to be used as kind of like a way to send a message to Ron that, hey, look, you know what? This is from Disney's perspective. I'm just, from Disney's perspective, if they can work a deal out with the city of Anaheim to get that Disneyland Forward approved, it's kind of a way that they can kind of make a lot of hay out of that and say, look, we're not the unreasonable ones, everybody. We can make deals with governments and cities and all that. It's this guy over here that's the problem, So I think that's one of the reasons why we're seeing this big push by Iger and Disney to get this Disneyland Forward thing all set. So they can send a message like, hey, we're rational. We're the adult in the room. It's this guy over here who's great, basically, I think.
Consistent with that philosophy, OG, do you think we get a dollar amount if Disneyland Forward is approved? Do you think do you think the company comes out and says, well, in the next 30 years we'll have spent this much, just to kind of reiterate that, hey, we do a deal with the city. This is the rewards you can reap. Wizard?
100%. In fact, they're gonna take that 17 billion, slash it in half, and bring it over here to Anaheim. That's right, because Florida's the new California, suckers.
That's kind of why I bring it up, because I mean the $17 billion that was referenced in their suit. Right. So in that 77-page sheet, they actually referenced the $17 billion. They want it out there, known. This is what we were earmarking to spend, even though potentially they don't. Go ahead, OG.
Yeah, no, 100%. And we've talked a lot about on this show how the 17 billion was sort of brought up at that shareholder meeting with the idea of them being able to use that 17 billion as kind of leverage to we can announce it, but then we could take it away if we need to, right? Because remember, the 17 billion statement was brought up when he was talking about Ron DeSantis. That was not an accident. So they will probably announce a dollar amount when that Disneyland Forward thing gets approved, and they'll probably say, hey, look, due to the situation in Orlando, we're gonna have to cut back on that 17 billion. We're gonna maybe redirect that here to Anaheim. I know a lot of fans got mad when I said that might be a possibility. I know a lot of fans got mad on Twitter, like, well, it's not fair to Florida, and you can't abandon Walt Disney World. No one is saying that we're abandoning Walt Disney World. This is a strategic thing by the Walt Disney Company to sort of redirect funds. Where the Disney World's not going to rot. They will still invest in it. They will just invest less in it and focus on California. It's strategic, and it's one of the ways they can beat Ron DeSantis. We either do this or Disney gets stuck with the crappy end of the stick forever. So this is a short time. It's a short-term pain for a long-term gain kind of situation. And I think it might work. I really do. If Disney announces that they're pulling back investment in Florida and they're putting it here in California, what do you think that's going to do for Ronnie's popularity out there in Florida? That's already going down. He's tanking nationally. His popularity in Florida is not going up either. What's going to happen when Disney announces that we're pulling away an investment, we're pulling away jobs from Orlando, or we'll put them here in California? You think that's going to help them politically? Not at all. That's why Disney is doing it. And that's why you're seeing a huge push forward, a huge push for this Disneyland Forward thing right now. Go ahead, Dre.
Speaking of Ronnie Boy and his future prospects there, I guess, we will have probably another follow-up RCAD video for sure, talking about some recent stuff, happenings over there for the previous RCAD, now the CFTOD. But from what I understand, I just got a report out by somebody I trust, saying that the media may have turned on Ron because his presidential prospects aren't nearly as viable as they were when the year started. So, that's another thing out of Ron's favor right there. But getting back to California, I mean, look, if you have trouble going on over there in Florida, it's like, well, we don't really know what the political environment or the economic environment is actually going to be like over there, or the regulatory environment, I should say. So yeah, I mean, it makes sense that you would kind of switch up and maybe send your capital expenditure or allocate capital towards a resort that isn't that doesn't have the governor's ire, let's say, over there at Disneyland. It does make sense. And with Wizard pointing out that, look, we might be on the prospect of Universal Studios Hollywood Resort, maybe getting Donkey Kong, getting Diagon Alley, getting obviously we know that we're getting the Fast and Furious coaster, but maybe the Bourne show. We're getting tens of millions, perhaps even hundreds of millions of dollars worth of investment over there. It makes sense why you'd want to kind of build up Disneyland Resort, because I mean the draws will be there. Not to say that they have to necessarily, just like we talk about Epic Universe and everything going on there in Florida, but it just makes sense that you'd want to earmark some stuff, maybe perhaps in advance. Also too, hey, third theme park, that's a possibility, right? As Disneyland Forward moves along, that's obviously going to be an area in which maybe should be considered. Tomorrowland, maybe Hollywood Land. Obviously, if Disneyland Forward gets approved, they talked about the bridge and how that would change things. Well, that demands a new parking structure. There's already investment that you can look at and say, yeah, well, not only does Disneyland need it, but we can benefit from it as well.
Yeah, and I want to ask you fellas what you guys think, because we have these two titans, right? We got Disney and Universal kind of battling it out in California, right? Universal's ramping up investment. Seems like Disney's going to start ramping up too with Pandora and this Disneyland Forward thing. But what does that mean for the smaller parks in the area? We have a friend of the channel, Theme Park Casual, who's a huge Knott's Berry Farm person, right? And we have SeaWorld in San Diego too, and Legoland, these smaller kind of parks. With Disney and Universal kind of in an arms race, do we see collateral damage? And I'll start with you, Ethan. Do we see collateral damage in that, like, we're hurt, where like places like Knott's are kind of hurt by this battle of these titans. What do you think, Ethan? Do you think that's going to be a thing, or do you think it'll benefit those little parks?
You know, it might hurt. Though I don't know, but it depends on what Knott's does. But it might hurt Six Flags, or attendance already dropping. So it might
That's not good. Not
you
good.
yeah, hurt Six Flags, especially again if there's a hotel, right, for people to stay at Universal. I know a lot of people that start off their trip at Disneyland, but then they go up to some hotel in LA or something, or in the Valley, and they spend a day at Universal and then go to Six Flags the next day, right? But if they're staying at Universal, maybe they want to cut out that Six Flags day and just spend a couple days at Universal and go home after their Disney Universal trip, because Six Flags is all of a sudden far from them, right? And the Universal's right there, right? Knott's, they have a lot of entertainment. They could be all right, but as long as it doesn't keep raining as much as they did, because boy, their numbers suffered because of that rain that was scored there. And actually, they can remedy that by building some more indoor rides, dark rides.
There you go.
Everyone stay at Disneyland, Universal stay open in the rain, basically mainly because they have tons of indoor attractions to do. The outdoor ones can be affected. They have so many indoor ones that they don't have to close. So that
Super Nintendo World was definitely still a draw, even in the rain. So
Nintendo World was very crowded in the rain. Mario Kart was an hour and a half in the rain, and there's people doing all types of things. I was there all day in the rain. It was crazy. But if you bring super, super cool experiences, Knott's could be okay, maybe. I don't know, actually. But Six Flags would be in trouble. Legoland will be okay, because Legoland is, that's like a different thing.
Yeah, it's a different animal.
History repeats itself, right? So the original reason why the Knott's family sold Knott's Berry Farm in the first place is because they couldn't compete with the corporate theme parks around them, that being Universal and that being Disney. They just wow. I mean, we just simply do not have the capital as a family in order to put up this kind of money for these big attractions. So that's why they sold it to Cedar Fair. And honestly, a similar thing happened with Magic Mountain. Magic Mountain was, I believe it started out as independently owned, and then they, sold this part of the Six Flags brand. So it's history repeating itself, right? It's, if you want to compete in this space, you're going to have to put up some big capital investments. We've heard talk about Knott's potentially getting, Giga Coaster, Hyper Coaster, and some of these other concepts here. From what I understand, those are maybe on hold. And as Cedar Fair, I guess their recent earnings report didn't do all that well. As time goes on, it's gonna take some more investment to stay in the game here, and we'll see whether or not these companies want to put up that amount of capital, especially with some economic headwinds on the horizon.